guys are exceptional. Davius Richard is among the best quarterback in HBCU football and among one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, in my opinion. Davius Richard and what he did last year was nothing short of spectacular. You know, when you talked about Shedeur Sanders and his tremendous job he did at quarterback for Jackson State last year, Davius Richard was right next to him. Davius Richard last year accounted for 40 touchdowns, 25 passing touchdowns, 15 rushing touchdowns. And he also accrued, 15 touchdowns on the ground, including 700 rushing yards. He rushed for more yards than Alabama State's leading rusher. Davius Richard is a unit out there, and his efficiency is at 156%. At 156, this lands him around some of the top passers in the nation. It lands him around number 20. He is just above Drake May, who has a 157 efficiency rating, and just below Shedeur Sanders, who has a 159 efficiency rating. The highest efficiency rating of last year was C.J. Stroud at 177%. After that, it fell off to 162, then 154 was a little more regular. All right, so that's just giving you a taste of what Davius Richard is and how much of a game changer Davius Richard is as a passer and a thrower. He has definite problems for the MEAC, and he will be more of a national problem this year coming up. He'll even get a chance to face off at UCLA at the Rose Bowl this year to show off his talents. So then next up, we'll get into Jeremy Moussa. Jeremy Moussa, or Moose, as a lot of fans at FAMU like to call him, is among the top quarterbacks in the SWAC. He is my QB1 in the SWAC today. He is the most pure passer of all of the returners coming back from the SWAC. And quite honestly, he has some of the best builds of all the quarterbacks in the SWAC. So there's 3 SWAC quarterbacks on this list, and what Jeremy Moussa did last year was nothing short of spectacular for a transfer, the graduate transfer. Came in and threw 25 touchdowns, threw for on 57% completion, which wasn't terrible. I would like for that to improve this upcoming year, and I checked that out into the spring game. He looks a little bit better at it. And he threw for 2,700 yards on 128% efficiency. Not very bad at all. Lots of room for improvement for Jeremy Moussa. I think at his size and really who he has coaching him, Coach Willie Simmons, I think that he will definitely make those steps and make those improvements. He won't have just one guy to go to this year like he did last year with Xavier Smith. And hopefully he progresses and develops in reading more of the defense. Now, third, we have our Division II guy from Fort Valley State, Kelvin Durham. Kelvin Durham is that guy. Kelvin Durham is that guy. I mentioned to you how Davius Richard efficiency was 156. Kelvin Durham's efficiency is 148. He's right around there. Only playing around 11 games this year. He threw for 1,900 yards, 19 touchdowns total, and threw for 61% completion percentage. At 61% completion percentage, he was one of the most efficient passers in the SIAC last year. He's the guy. He's among my top 5 quarterbacks because of his playmaking abilities. Also thrown for 5 touchdowns in a single game last year. And he also was the quarterback of a team that had running backs that had 2 1,000-yard rushers. At Kelvin Durham's size, he looks to be a great quarterback this upcoming season. I look for him to take a lot of big strides forward, and he is the best quarterback in the SIAC by far. Next up, we got Andrew Body. Andrew Body has been a fan favorite for a lot of different fans within the SWAC this past couple of years, and he has somewhat underachieved. He's played under a system that I don't think fits him the best, but he still has played pretty well in certain games. He's had performances that have led me to believe that he still has that dog in him, right? So at last year, he only threw for 15 touchdowns total. He was injured about a game, I think one game. Threw for 58% completion percentage on 1,400 yards, 633 yards rushing. 1,800 yards passing, and he threw on 126% efficiency. It weren't crazy numbers last year. There's the thing about Andrew Body. There's a lot of questions of potential. The biggest question about Andrew Body is how good can he be? And I think this year we will see the best Andrew Body that there is at Texas Southern. lastly, we got Travon Connley. Travon Connley is a big question mark in the SWAC. He is one of the most interesting quarterbacks you will find in college football. Last year, he had 24 touchdowns total. 13 of his touchdowns were rushing touchdowns. He threw for 58%, but only 1,400 passing yards, and he had 663 rushing yards. There were games in which he threw for around 5 for 9, 4 touchdowns on 125 yards. He does things a little bit different for this Prairie View A&M offense, but I think he is just a byfactor of the Prairie View A&M offense, which is a run-heavy scheme, and it is mostly based around strong zone principles. Now, the quarterback has to keep the ball and, really show that to keep the defense honest. But in Travon Connley's, in his situation, I'm looking for him to make more steps forward in development as a passer. I think this year, more teams playing Prairie View A&M understand what they are now under new coach Bub McDowell. And they are a ground and pound team out of the shotgun, and they're going to pack the box. I'd like to see Travon Connley make reads. He has a nice deep ball, but I'd like to see him make reads after the first receiver or the first option is not open. And I'd like to see how he goes about picking apart a defense and moving his team down the field with his arm. That's the biggest question going into the season for Travon Connley, but he is in my top 5 because of his performance last year and his game-changing ability. There are other guys that could have made this list that are very close. Last year, Draylen Ellis made my list. He will not be on the list this year. He's a notable, and Quinton Williams is also a notable on this list this year. He won't make the finals.